I'm going to give you a few gems about your job search, talk about how companies that hire in the best way possible do it. So with that, let me move on. I devised for tonight the 4 steps we'll talk through here called the 4S model. And best-in-class companies do 4 basic steps to ensure they get the best talent. Now, I made up the name 4S model, and companies may call it anything. They may actually do these things without calling it by any name. So you won't necessarily find this in a textbook somewhere, but this is basically the 4 steps you go through if you're a best-in-class hiring organization. Now, hiring is a mix of science and art, and anytime you have people ultimately selecting people, there's a great deal of variability and individuality that gets involved with that. So we apply the science and art to the 4S model. We realize that the first steps are heavily science, and the final steps tend toward art. And you'll see that as we go through these 4 steps. This model is interesting because it kind of describes how a hiring organization can basically start with a global labor market and narrow down to one hire for one position, which is kind of fascinating when you think about it in that way. Now, all this big model and so forth may seem like overkill just to fill a job, but you have to realize that top companies know that a great deal of their success depends on the people they employ. All the company's competitors are subject to the same basic environmental factors, whether it's price pressure, product obsolescence, trade barriers, patent issues, what have you. And one of the things that can be a differential and lead to business results that are different among companies is their talent. So top companies recognize this and are therefore willing to invest in their talent for that competitive edge that it can bring. So with that, let me go on to the first piece, which is the strategy, and talk through that. And basically, let me describe what I mean by strategy. The best practice is for a company to study key jobs that are most important to their success. So, for example, as a pharmaceutical company, we consider our sales job to be one of the key jobs in this company. And so I'm going to refer to our sales job throughout this discussion as an example. And just as background, know that a pharmaceutical sales job entails talking to doctors about how to use our medicines in their patients. If you kind of boil it down, that's what they do, is they consult with doctors about how to use our medicine. So I mentioned it starts off with a strategy, which is basically a study, and the study is performed to answer the question, what is it about a candidate that can best predict success in our job? And so a common way to answer this question is to survey your current job holders and correlate their responses to questions with their performance. And so the result is a list of attributes about people that correlate with good or bad performance in the job. And this is just like insurance companies do when they correlate attributes of potential customers with their driving liability. So insurance companies want to uncover what attributes make you a good or bad driving risk, and they may rely on your past driving record, your age, your car, how many miles you drive, maybe even your credit history. The better they predict your driving liability, the better they can quote you a rate that will cover your driving liability and still make a profit for them. And that analogy fits pretty well in selecting talent, where we hire you for your potential to perform in a job. Now, beyond deriving a list of attributes that predict job performance, the strategy can also reveal if there's a talent type that we should focus on. So in our example with the pharmaceutical sales job, we found that campus hires are one talent type that perform well in our jobs. We also found that undergraduates perform as well as graduates. Great to know that. We found the extent to which GPA is predictive of performance. We know the talent types will then inform a company about where to look for the talent and help build their strategy around those groupings of people. Let me mention that knowing what does not predict performance is as important as knowing what does predict performance. And so it's critical to remove biases from the selection of talent and focus on facts so that the most expansive talent pool can ultimately be considered for employment. So in summary, the outcome from a good strategy is to know the talent types or profile that represents what good looks like and described by their attributes. And this sets the stage for sourcing the talent we'll go to now. Sourcing is basically putting the strategy into action. And sourcing is basically advertising and marketing. It may include job postings on the company's website, pretty straightforward, or posting to job boards, use of internet tools like LinkedIn. Could be even TV ads, print media, radio, or employee referrals. So the key to an effective sourcing campaign is to reach the people matching the profile and talent types from the study and strategy. At the same time, the good sourcing campaign will limit the reach so it doesn't exceed beyond the target audience very much. Typical marketing in that way. So let me add that almost everything now in sourcing is internet-based, and we do very little